Welcome back to the NAO show. That's Tank Top Mike. Whoa, that's not Tank Top Mike. He is not
We're
here. Look at that.
we're
That is
tank
Marky
topless.
Mark. And I'm the Prince. We're going to talk about three of our league mates rosters this week. We're just going to be kind of like a round table. We're going to go down the roster, see where they're excelling, where they can improve, what kind of draft capital they got going on, and where we see some of their bench players that could maybe take that next step. How you doing today, Marky Mark?
Doing great, man. Doing great. Yeah, we'll do a little roster review. Going to start off with three of the bottom four. We're going to leave out the underdogs for this one. We are going to give them a little bit of credit. We think they underachieved this year. They had some tough luck. Maybe they should be the tough luck kids.
No. I've gone on the record and said that the underdogs drastically underperformed for the last 2 years. So
yeah. Everybody had them in the playoffs in the preseason, but it didn't work out. So we're going to leave them out of this one. Talk about the other three in the bottom four and what they can do to get out of that bottom four competition for the Miyagi Bowl.
Yeah, nobody wants that Miyagi Bowl.
I mean, you get the first pick if you win it, but nobody wants to be in the Miyagi Bowl, really.
No, everybody's playing for the playoffs. We want that championship. We want to knock down Ian out of the playoffs for the first time. That's my dream. To be the fourth person into the playoffs and Ian being the fifth.
Yeah.
Me being the reason.
Put him in the Who Cares Bowl, the best place for him.
Yes. All right, the first roster we're going to look at today is going to be the FNG's roster. All right. So looking at his roster right off the bat, it is not so great, but we all know what his plan is. It was very apparent that he's trying to build something out of nothing. He kind of got a really, really good redraft roster when he first came into the league. Skippy.
Yeah.
R.I.P. He did a really good redraft roster. A very good dynasty roster.
A decent one. It was already he got an old redraft roster, and so of course 1 year later, all of a sudden he's got highest average age in a dynasty league, which is not a good thing.
Well, I can't go as far as say that because I got my backside handed to me 2 games in a row in the Who Cares Bowl. So I was trying to give it a little more respect than that, but I can see where you're going with that, Marky Mark.
That was pretty much on the back of an old running back, Derrick Henry. So
who is on the trade block at this moment.
Yeah. You look at his starting lineup here. He's got a little bit of youth in here. He's got Lamar Jackson. It's probably a decent quarterback to have with the rushing upside.
We always love quarterbacks that have good rushing upside, and he is known to be a runner, and he's young. And I think I don't think quarterback is a concern for him.
No, he's Rashad Penny there at running back is guy's finally starting to play. I wonder if he's going to actually come back with another strong season, or if he's going to end up being hurt and kind of just fade into obscurity there. I meant to look up his contract situation. I think he might be going into 5th year. They could do he was a first round pick, so they could do a 5th-year option on him, but I don't know what's going on with him there. I wish I should have looked that up, but Ramondre Stevenson's not a bad guy to have. Of course, he's in a committee a little bit. Cooper's a younger guy, Renfro. So he's got some good young pieces there, but right now in his starting lineup, he's got Mark Ingram. I'm thinking he might not be in that starting lineup by the time the season starts next year. I don't know.
Going back a little bit about Rashard Penny, I think it's obvious that Chris Carson is going to be the running back there again this year, unless they go out and draft a running back. But I think Penny's going to be a backup at best, kind of like how he was this year. He was a nothing player until probably week 14, which doesn't help our league at all getting into the playoffs. So I think he's definitely on the get out of town for
Yeah.
FNG's starting lineup.
He's got AJ Green there, who's probably moving on. They only had him on a 1 year. He was. I had to say Green was better than I thought he would be this season, but
Yeah, definitely. I definitely agree with that.
I think it's probably time to move on, and I doubt that he goes to another team. He could, but I mean, what you really can't count on him in the starting lineup. I don't think he's got
Well, the guy's
Huh?
33, going to be 34. He was wide receiver 41, and you don't want no wide receiver 41 in your starting lineup.
Yeah. Marvin Jones a little older too. I thought he might do a little bit better. He was, remember in the preseason, seemed to be Trevor Lawrence's favorite guy.
Yeah, he was fire at the beginning.
Yeah, he started off pretty well in the season, but we all know what happened there. So maybe Jones has got one more year in him. He's got that New England defense. That's not too bad.
One of the things about Jones, though, is we can't forget that Chark is in that lineup. And when he comes back, you got to think that he's going to be the workhorse and the big body wide receiver as he was the year prior before he got injured. So I think Chark, even though he's on that other guy's roster, and I don't know who the heck gave him to him, but I think he has really good bench upside, maybe seeing that flex spot. I don't think Jones has, if everybody stays healthy, which is what we're trying to, that's how we got to look at it. I think Jones is probably a wide receiver 3 look, especially with a whole new head coaching department coming in. They want to develop T-Law into what he should be, and that's going to be consistency with his wide receivers, which is going to be Chenault and Chark.
Well, if they get Leftwich in there, man, that would be a good thing for
definitely
for Trevor Lawrence, man. Now we'll have to see what happens there. Jones, Chark. I'm sorry, I wanted to say something about Chark. I've been hearing rumblings about him maybe going somewhere else.
Oh wow, okay.
I don't know. It's early and it's a lot of conjecture, definitely. But talking about trading him away, so that we'll have to see who's there, and that'll determine what Jones does. I think Jones will probably at least be there one more season. So,
Mark, do you think Renfrow is going to be the player he was this year, or do you see some regression with that wide receiver?
If I had Renfrow, I'd probably try to sell high, and that's not based on anything being wrong with Renfrow. It's more based on is it going to look the same next year as it did this year? I'm not really convinced that it's going to be the same exact situation moving forward. So
yeah, I definitely agree. I think it's a strike while the iron's hot type situation with Renfrow. Yeah. Too bad it's not the middle of the season where a guy's looking for a dude to kind of give some depth moving into the playoffs, or else that would have been a great guy to have at that point. But an off-season move for a guy that we don't know if he can do it again, or if the coaching staff that comes in will allow him to do it again. Yeah. There's just so many questions in Las Vegas with a wide receiver like that. Yeah. Like, does he have all those targets when Waller has a full year and is actually a decent tight end again? Well, I consider him a freaking wide receiver for how many times he lines up in the slot and outside and what have you. But
right. Now Renfrow, he's a good route runner. Definitely gets open and good check down guy. But we don't know what it's going to be next year, and if he's got a new quarterback or who knows. That's what I say. There's a whole lot of questions to be answered, and I'd probably be just trying to sell him just based on what he did and take a chance that things might change and he may not be what he was. So do you like anybody on his bench? I'm looking down through his bench right now, and
well, I like James Robinson, but it's hard because we don't know who the new head coach is going to fall in love with either that being Etienne or Robinson. Both of them are young running backs. Etienne's coming back off a season-ending injury, but he's young. And he was, what was he, a second round pick for them or a first round pick for them?
He was a first round pick.
That's a lot of capital in the NFL.
Yeah. He's coming off the list, Frank, which is a tough injury to come back from. And then Robinson, he hurt his Achilles. So I imagine Robinson's going to be talking to Akers in his camp to find out what the heck he did to come back in 5 months, 6 months time, as opposed to 9 months to a year.
Besides a couple fumbles, he looked real good.
So, yeah, I think, unfortunately, I think Robinson's going to be probably a non-factor until later into next season. Just being realistic about it, but we'll see. Maybe, like I said, maybe he talks to Cam and his doctors to find out. It's, now that I mentioned that, I did hear a report that they did Akers' surgery a little bit different. And maybe they've come up with something, and it had to. I'm not a doctor. I don't play one on TV. I used to play doctor when I was younger, but we'll go into all that.
In the 1740s, where you had to wear one of those masks.
Yeah. Had that little mirror thing on there.
Yeah, exactly. Back in the day.
Yeah, back in the day. Horse and buggy, making house calls. Yeah, that kind of thing. Now, they something to do with the way it was attached and reattached or whatever you call it. It's pretty interesting. It's definitely he's exceeded any expectations that I had of him coming at this point. I've been vocal about him shouldn't be playing and all that, but he looked explosive and looked like he was in good shape to me. So maybe Robinson gets some of that kind of treatment and come back a little earlier, but Achilles that late in the season, man, that's a tough one to come back from.
Another guy that kind of fell off onto his bench that we did not allude to, who will be in his starting lineup moving next year, Chris Godwin. Early rumblings out of Tampa, as you can probably guess. He is our number one focus on re-signing. In the playoffs, we were missing him immensely. We couldn't get Gronk and Mike Evans to do everything. We were missing him. So if he does stay in Tampa, I think he's a fantastic guy to move up there with Amari Cooper as his 1-2 punch at wide receiver. And if he goes anywhere else, I still think he's going to be the guy. So Chris Godwin's on his bench right now, but you got to say he's best asset at wide receiver.
Yeah, coming off that ACL late in the season, he'll be a little iffy for the beginning of the season, but I think he'll be a factor into next season at some point. May not be right away, but could be. We'll have to see the extent of it in the surgery. Everything I've heard, he had his surgery, right?
Yes, he did.
Godwin did, and it seems like everything I've heard has been positive. So maybe he'll be able to get back in close to the beginning. He doesn't have a lot else. You look at guys like Jalen Reagor, looking bust. They say they want more out of him, but I'm like, I mean, are you trying to use them? They're not the ones that the guys that are there now are not the ones that drafted him, and except for Roseman's still there, the GM, but they got a whole new system, and they haven't really seemed to be doing much with him.
Yeah, in that system, there's just not a lot of targets for wide receivers. I mean, it's a very run-first team.
Yeah,
that's when they were winning games. Is when they were running first, and then Hurts he's going to make plays on his legs, so that's more running, and there's just not a lot of targets to go around. And then he's third look between Goddard and Smith.
Yeah, he lost a little bit of targets to Quez Watkins, and like I said, there's not a lot to go around. So when you got guys like Goddard and Smith there, should be your focal points. Reagor is competing for the third looks, like you said, and it's a shame because I think he's got a lot of talent, but he was drafted by into another system, and they're not using him in this new system at all. I thought it was ironic. We want to see more out of Reagor. Well, what are you doing to help him out?
Exactly.
A lot of times I've seen Philly, they're throwing them little smoke screens and go run and make a play. And I don't know that that's his strength either. You know, I don't know that that's the best way to utilize him. So I don't know. We all like Edwards, but man, he's starting to look like I won't say he's a bust. Again, I don't know if they're really utilizing him. He's had some moments, but it's just not looking like it's gonna be he's gonna be a thing.
Yeah, I
Going into his
mean,
third
if
season.
we're gonna skate the line on bust, he's definitely right there. I mean, in a year where your number one target in Waller goes down at the beginning and doesn't really come back to be a factor the whole season, and then a guy picked from obscurity, Renfro, comes out of nowhere and gets 100 targets, like, Edwards, you're a first round pick. What the heck is wrong with you? Like, why are you not like taking your opportunities and making that step that everyone thought you could do? But yeah, I mean,
was he a first rounder? I don't remember him being a first rounder, but
I thought the Raiders traded for the pick and picked him.
Might have. I'm looking it up right now.
I'm
continue.
This is the NAO show, and the Prince is always wrong. So
I'm he was picked in the third round. He was picked in the third round.
Third round. That was so close to the first round. It was not even funny.
Still, though, it's nothing to sneeze at. That's not a bad. The draft capital there isn't too bad. I think we all expect a little bit more out of him. So, again, another guy that you just like. Could somebody make something out of him? You know, maybe he's just not in the right place. But yeah, there's not a lot of guys on his bench to get too excited about. I do have to mention we are tank topless today, but for tank top, I have to mention Boston Scott. He does have Boston Scott, and
he would have won him a couple more games this year. Just saying.
We know that tank top is high on Boston Scott, so we'll mention
he likes him some Boston Scott.
Yeah.
Moving down into FNG's draft capital, obviously that is the most picks I've seen in 2 years for 2022 and 2023 on any one team ever, in my opinion. He's got 4 first rounders in 22, and then he's got another 3 in 23 so far. So you got to think with those 4 picks, he can definitely shore up some spots that are gaping holes in his lineup and become a little more competitive this year. You think?
Yeah, realistically, this year, I would say, I'm studying the draft class right now. I would say up through his second round pick, which would be 5 picks, I think that he could get guys that could be contributing this season. I think with the depth of the wide receivers that he could do that. Now he's probably his highest pick is the 103. He may be able to get a running back there that can contribute this season. A little bit of a stretch this year because it's not a real deep running back class. I got about 3 guys there that I think that could contribute this year, maybe depending on where they land. But the receivers are good. There's some good depth in the receivers, and I think he could get a few guys that maybe could be contributing this year. Out of those 5 picks, I'd say he's got a good shot to get 2 or 3 guys that he might be able to get into a starting lineup before the end of the season. So I like what he's got there. He's easily got 3 or 4 guys he can drop if he wants to bring these guys up to the active roster. So
yeah, I think we've been spoiled the last 2 years in the wide receiver realm when it comes to the rookie draft. I mean, Justin Jefferson, Jamar Chase, just to name a couple, and then there's a whole slew of other ones. T. Higgins, he was fantastic. Pittman, just to name a couple. But I think everyone is looking down on the 22 draft because there's not a blaring Jefferson or Chase or Waddle or Smith kind of looking guy. But hey, we never know. Everyone has the same opportunities once they get drafted.
Yeah, there's a lot of guys that can play, and the places, the picks that he has, I'd certainly be brushing up on the receivers in this class if I were him, because I'm thinking if I were him, I'd probably reach for a running back there, number 3. I don't know, I say that, but then if maybe he waits till 5 and he gets a really good receiver there, but I'd probably pick 3 or 5. He got 3, 4, and 5. I'd probably try to get one of the top 3 running backs, which may not be anything great, but I'd certainly be brushing up on the wide receivers and trying to make something out of those picks, those first 5 picks he has, which gets him up through pick 13.
Mm-hmm.
So even at pick 13, I think there's going to be a receiver there that's going to be a decent guy. So he's he's still got a ways to go. I think if he drafts well this in this upcoming draft, that what did he win? 3? Did he win 3 games?
Yeah, I think he did win
3 games last season. I think he can bump that up. I think he could double that count. He's playing in the bottom 4, so he'll have the easier strength of schedule, and I think he could get up to maybe 6 wins, 5, 6 wins this year.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think he's going to be after sitting down with him, talking to him about football, he's a very astute learner of the game. He don't sleep on FNG. He knows drives and painstaking detail of his team. He's a real fan. He knows players. He's gonna do his homework. We know that, and he's gonna make the best plays for his team. And I think it's gonna make him even more competitive this year.
Yeah. Now he really does have quite a bit of player knowledge. If it's Tennessee Titans, it's like scout level, man.
Yeah,
Dude.
It's on savant. I'd like to see Evan and FNG talk about the Titans over a few beers, because they're going to be talking about, well, his blood type is AB positive, and I've seen B positive players have more. Like, this is the level that they're going to be talking about these guys.
Yeah, no, he's passionate about his Titan, that's for sure. But he does have a good overall knowledge of a lot of the players. So I think I'm really interested to see what he does. I guess we'll move on to our second roster we're going to talk about. That would be
the Swamp Dick.
Yeah, he's officially just the tips now that he brought Landon in. You
think that's a cousin thing for their family?
It's a cousin thing. I think their motto is 2 tips are better than 1. So
that's what she said.
So let's talk about Ricky. I mean, we all know he came in like a whirlwind. We know his history. I think it was Evan that told me he was close to staying put and trying to play with that roster, but he thought he was a player or 2 short, and he decided to burn it down. He put together
a giant asset in Jonathan Taylor.
Yeah, Jonathan Taylor. He was trade after trade after trade. We were, the NAO show was talking about Ricky's crazy trades, and then he kind of used all that draft capital to get good players and put together a pretty good lineup that was competitive early in the season. And then, of course, we know he lost Henry, and it went downhill from there. So it was a roller coaster.
He kind of went from this, all right, I'm going to rebuild. And then he's like, all right, in a matter of 5 picks in our rookie draft, he went from, okay, I'm not going to rebuild. I'm going to go to win now. Gets Diggs, gets Henry. And then we're all looking at him like, what is this guy doing? Like, he went from rebuild to having a roster that could definitely stir up some trouble in playoffs, maybe.
Yeah, no, he had a great start, and we all know that when he lost Henry, that was a big hit. So he decided to burn it down again, and so it's just like, man, I don't think the dust still hasn't settled from Ricky's roster here. Yeah, but if you look at his starting lineup, he's still got some decent things going on. He's got Stafford, he's got Henry, Michael Carter in there. Hollywood Brown, Christian Kirk, Kyle Pitts. I mean,
yeah, I think
he went and got his guy. that was his favorite. He said that was his top rated guy from the draft, and he went and got him.
I think for the top 6 guys on his roster, I think the only blaring deficiency is probably at wide receiver. I think Hollywood Brown and Kurt. I think Kurt's better depth play, and I think Brown is probably where he should be. Would be probably a flex consideration. That's where I would be looking to improve his lineup moving forward.
Yeah, I mean, Brown finished as the wide receiver 22. It was a little bit up and down, and some of it I really think is Lamar was playing well early on. I think the injury maybe was more than we thought. I think he was trying to play through before he finally was just out, and
then Pittman came in near the end of the year, and they were trying to get him going.
But he was Lamar was targeting Hollywood a lot.
Yeah, he was.
And we were all going after him when we were trying to make those playoff runs.
Yeah, definitely.
And he was burning things down. And Ricky stayed put and said, I'm not gonna take too little for him. I want to get top dollar out of him. So I think he still believes in him, and I think he could still be a good part of his roster there. But finishing wide receiver 22, yeah, right now you kind of have to consider him more of a flex, not a one type yet. He's got Singletary there, who he had a good
flashes,
end of the
right?
What's that?
He had some flashes this year.
Yeah, he had a good end of the season. They started I was gonna say benching, but they were making dang, what's the other guy's name? I lost his name there. Huh?
Moss.
Yeah, Zach. They started making him inactive, and Singletary was doing some good things. I just don't think he's a workhorse. He doesn't have the size. He's 5'7".
Yeah.
He doesn't have the size to be a workhorse, but I mean, he's a decent, he was one of the PFF darlings because he forced a lot of missed tackles. So he's a elusive kind of guy, but he's still kind of small to carry a load,
Yeah,
so,
he in the playoffs, he definitely showed the team that he could be depended on. But the playoffs is a burst, people that are in the playoffs, they're playing hurt. Everybody's playing hurt. And if it's something that in the regular season probably would have kept him out or maybe taken some snaps away from him, in the playoffs, he's playing through all that stuff.
Yeah. No, I think we'll have to see what Buffalo does at running back again. Yeah. It's hard to see them drafting somebody again. They may. What do they do with Moss? Is he just going to be, a backup now?
Yeah.
They certainly don't seem to have a lot of confidence in him now. So it's hard to say. Singletary was good down the stretch. He's a guy I'd be trying to sell high on probably too. If I had him, I'd be like, yeah, let's see if we can make something out of that late season run and not take a chance on what Buffalo's going to do at running back.
Mm-hmm.
Callaway's not a bad guy. Another one of these guys that's got all the talent in the world, but just hasn't been utilized.
And with Sean Payton taking a step back or whatever that means, he's not going to be the new head coach's guy. So who knows how they're going to be working with him.
No, it's hard to say. It's just, again, one of those too many question marks to really make a determination. Not that he doesn't have talent, it's just that maybe he doesn't have the best situation. So
right.
He's got Corey Davis up in there, who had a disappointing season. I think he can be good. I think Wilson was kind of gravitating towards him in the offense, and Davis got hurt. Wilson had a little bit of regression. We didn't see a lot out of him. Yeah, I think he's still learning the speed of the game here.
Yeah,
after
definitely.
playing at BYU against lesser talent, but Wilson did make some strides later in the year. He had some good, he made some good strides after he was hurt and was carrying the clipboard for a little while, and then he came back, and just kind of a mess there. But Davis could be somebody that could be, better for him next season than he was last season. So,
well, I don't think we really thought Corey Davis was going to go from Tennessee, where he had a fantastic year as the wide receiver 2 behind AJ Brown, and going to a lesser team that didn't really even know what the heck they were going to do on offense, let alone how Corey Davis was going to be the vocal point of that in New York. So I think with another year of being on the team, being in the offense, probably a new offense now, and then Zach having another year under his belt, I think he has upside.
Yeah, I mean they played hard for Saleh, and I think there's better days ahead. They dealt with a lot of injuries on that team, and yeah, I think they'll continue to improve. I think they improved this season. It may not have been easy to see, but I think they'll continue to improve, and Davis could make a jump. I think he's definitely got the talent. So who do you
Looking
like on
down
his
at
bench?
his bench, there's one name that just
Yeah,
jumps right off the page at
I,
me.
I think I know which one you're talking about.
He's right now he is wide receiver 2 in Cincinnati. He is behind a guy called Jamar Chase, and his name is Tyler Boyd. He is wide receiver 2 dose on the team. So I think he's a fantastic guy to have. Little older in the tooth, but heck, he's been shelling out with that potent offense. So I think he's a great guy, and going next year, he's still a guy that I would have on my team.
He's a good flex guy. So Boyd finished. I thought you were going with somebody else. We'll get to him in a moment, but I think he finished 5th this season in receiving yards out of the slot. Saw another stat that he's had one drop in 190 catches, I guess.
Golly, that's a lot.
Yeah, last 190. I don't know if it was targets or catches, but one drop in that whole time. He is one of the best, if not the best, slot receiver in the game. He was not wide receiver 2 though.
No, wide receiver 2 on the team.
No, he was not wide receiver 2 on the team. And that's, Mike and I were kind of touting that early in the season, and it was looking pretty good for a while, especially after Higgins missed a couple of games. But now Higgins finished strong, and Boyd faded just a little bit. So I think Boyd was a wide receiver 3. I think it was 31.
Yes,
and
he was.
Higgins was 24. So, but hey, I mean, wasn't too far off. It wasn't too far off. We were right there at it. Higgins had a lot of touchdowns too late, so that gave him a lot of points there down the stretch. So I had to correct you there, man. But he is a good flex guy. He's not a bad guy to have on your roster, because you may not use him regularly, but if you get some injuries, he's a guy you can press into action.
Who are you looking at on his bench there?
Well, he's got Deshaun Watson, and I think he's going to play next year. So,
but where?
Yeah,
where is he going to play?
And it seems like that situation should have been settled by now. I don't know what the heck they're doing. It seems to be dragging out for whatever reason, And there was some report that he had tried to settle with one of them after he had said he was going to fight them all. So I don't know, man. It's just one of those.
We're not lawyers, right along with not being doctors.
Yeah, I think we all just wanted to be done with it. So I guess the biggest question mark with him is, if he does play, is he still in game shape? Is there any rust to knock off, or does he pick right up where he left off? But where he left off was top 5 for 3 years in a row, So,
yes,
so having Stafford, who's a little bit older, but still playing in a really good offense, and then Watson as a younger guy, he's pretty well set there. And, we're only a 1 quarterback league. Sometimes we overlook it, but it's an important position. A lot of things start right there. You look at A-Bomb having Allen and what he did down the stretch there. You look at me with Kyler, and Kyler kind of fading down the stretch.
Yeah.
It made a big difference. So it's still an important position, even though we just had the one. I'm really surprised he's got Quez Watkins because Evan, said he was wide receiver 1 in Philadelphia. I'm really surprised that Evan would give him up. I imagine he had to gotten a first rounder out of that, don't you think?
Oh yeah, definitely.
I'm not sure. I can't remember the trade off the top of my head, but if Quez Watkins is on Ricky's squad, Evan's got to be sitting pretty with some big draft capital or a equal player to a wide receiver 1.
Quick update. Humpty picked him up from free agency. Not even waivers. Not even waivers. He just picked him up.
Wow. No kidding. Wow. Isn't that something? Thought he was wide receiver 1. Wow. Yeah, Don, he's got some holes to fill on his roster. I think he said that Henry's on the trade block. I wonder if he'll find a suitor. I know he probably wants to get a lot out of him. He may need, now that it's probably the worst thing that happened was he came in and played in the playoffs and wasn't good, and they're out of it now.
Yeah.
So he's got to wait till Henry probably pops off a game or two next season before he can probably get anything out of him. So
yeah, looking into his draft capital going into the 2022 draft, he's got a late second round pick at 17, and then a couple thirds, a couple fourths, and a couple fifths. Even with how deep the wide receiver is in this draft, I don't think he's going to be getting guys that jump off the page week 1 and help him out with any of his flex positions.
Yeah, I'm so far with my analysis, I'm thinking he's right there at the edge of a decent wide receiver. So if you look at people's propensity to pick quarterbacks in the first I wasn't gonna mention any names.
Hey, we keep it real on the NAO show. We love you, but you picked 2 quarterbacks in 2 rounds in a row.
Well, I mean, you look at FNG though, maybe he picks a guy. It's because he's got the luxury. He's got the multiple picks, and so sometimes these guys do it with a luxury pick. Like, all right, 108 or whatever. I'm not if that's one he's got. They're like, well, I had 3 and 4, so I got number 8. I'll pick a quarterback. It'll be,
FNG ain't got no luxury. He's got to hit on all those picks.
Yeah, you never know. So if there's a tight end, a quarterback, a tight end or 2 taken, then maybe at that pick 17, he can still get a decent wide receiver. That's kind of at the edge of it, though, in my estimation so far. So yeah, that's going to be his best chance of getting a guy that could be relevant this season. So he's got a better roster top to bottom than FNG.
Yeah,
but he doesn't have the draft capital of FNG, so it almost seems like he's got to make some more moves to me if he's going to do a full and decent rebuild to be competitive.
Yeah, I think he's doing what he needs to do in moving King Henry. It kind of sucked that he came back in the playoffs and didn't show his eliteness in that one game. But he's doing what I would probably doing, moving off an older top end running back and trying to get some picks or some guys or best offer,
Yeah.
Which I think still is going to be a substantial haul to get Henry, regardless of his playoff. I think getting Henry on your team is going to take a good deal of assets to get him.
Yeah, I still think that Henry's ADP is going to stay up there. I think that there's going to be people that still believe and say, okay, this is the first time he was injured, and he's going to come back strong. It's only the one injury now, and he'll come back strong. Other people are going to be saying he's too old. He's got the plate now and the screws, and if that stuff stays, I don't know if that's all permanent or not. But a lot of times those things are temporary and they're taken out later on.
Mm-hmm.
But I think his ADP will stay up there. I think he'll still be probably a first round pick. So if he's going to do anything, it's got to be this year. But like we said, you know, if he had a great game in the playoffs and showed that he could be the same old guy, he'd have a heck of a lot better chance of selling high right now on him.
Yeah, I agree.
He may have to hold out until he has a good game or two and shows something. You know, I wouldn't go after him right now.
I don't have the assets to be able to give up for a guy that, in my head, is a win now type person. If you're going out to get King Henry, you think you have the assets to give up, and you are only a workhorse running back away from being substantially significant in the playoffs.
Yeah. Looking ahead,
so let's go ahead and move to Goofy Jace and give his roster a little once over.
Already?
Looking at his starting lineup right off the bat, you got what we love in quarterback, a rushing quarterback with really good upside. And it's probably one of his family's favorite players, being Philadelphia fans. And he's good. So that's always good.
You think he's good?
Well, he's good in fantasy. He's quarterback 10. He was up in quarterback 3 range for a little while, dropped off a little bit. But, I mean, that rushing upside, if he rushes for 100 yards and throws for 2 touchdowns, I mean, that's a solid game from a quarterback position.
Yeah. Was there some report that said that they were going to stick with Hurts? Of course, it's early. You know, the draft has not happened, and Philly's got some high picks this year.
Is there a quarterback in this draft that could take his spot?
No, from what I'm seeing so far, there's probably 2 guys worth taking in the first round, and I don't know. I don't know that they get any better by taking one of those guys. Otherwise, you're reaching, I think, and I don't know that they got a high enough pick to get one of those guys, depending on how they end up being ranked coming into the draft. But yeah, it's tough to say. It's like they may not get any better by picking a quarterback this year.
Yeah, and they already have a bunch of assets into Hurts, so unless they have a clear-cut guy that's going to be way better than him, I don't think they move away from him.
Yeah, I guess, you know, Pickett being the local boy, Pickett from Pitt being more of a local boy, maybe they've been to a few of his games and taken a look at him. But I think they did come out and say they were going to stick with Hurts. But I just feel like Hurts is not a great NFL quarterback. He's been good in fantasy. He's not a great NFL quarterback. He may not stick around long enough. So if he can give him another season fantasy wise, like he did this year, he's got a good thing going there. But I don't know that the future looks great for him. So
Marky Mark with the gloom bloom on freaking Hurts this evening. Sorry, Goofy Jace. Fast forward through that. He goes on a tangent on how bad he hates Hurts over here.
Yeah, I'm not real high on him. So
you don't say.
Yeah, I certainly wouldn't. I wouldn't be betting a lot on it. He was good for fantasy. What did he finish here? Let's take a look. It was number 10 overall, but he did fall off a little bit too. He was higher than that. I think he was having top 5-6 finishes pretty consistently, and then
yes, he was.
And then it kind of fell off. They started running the ball more and spreading that around. So that's why I say he kind of dropped off at, he didn't improve. He didn't improve as a quarterback, as an NFL quarterback, and he dropped off in fantasy a little bit. So it's hard for me to get too excited about him.
It's okay, Marky Mark. We all know that you're buying for a spot to go get him and buy him low. It's okay. Use the NAO show to your advantage.
That's right.
Moving on to running backs, I think somebody that may have gotten lost this year, and maybe a reason why Goofy Jace had the drop off he did in the standings was J.K. Dobbins getting hurt, not being an asset for him this year.
Yeah.
Him and Jones is going to be a nice 1-2 punch in the running back position. What do you think?
Yeah. Jones, I'm wondering about a little bit. He's never been the darling there in Green Bay, and Dylan is cutting into his time. So
He has
it's
Dylan
gonna,
also. So
yeah, he does have Dylan also, but it's turned into a timeshare. I can tell you, as someone who had Javonte Williams and Melvin Gordon, that it gets maddening to know who to put in
just play them
when.
both.
Yeah, you put them both in, but you might get, you might be getting 1 or 2 points from one of them, which doesn't really help you if you maybe had somebody that could have been better. Yeah, that's a tough one. But yeah, Jones is still good, but he only had what 100. He didn't even top 200 carries this year, and he should have. Jamal Williams is gone. He should have been the number one guy.
Mm-hmm.
But Dylan was cutting into that some. I think Dobbins, full year removed from the ACL, he should be fine, and I hope he will be. What did he pick him? I think he picked him third in that draft. I think it was. So, man, I hope that he does start to get the return on that investment.
Yeah, I think kind of jumping ahead a little bit, looking at his 1 and 2 picks, he has a lot of options on the board. He could go get the best running back and the best wide receiver, or he could go wide receiver heavy because he is kind of stronger at the running back position. If I were him, I would go 1 running back, 1 wide receiver, and then make maybe Jones a depth play, because it is kind of back and forth between Jones or Dylan, and then have 2 solid workhorse running backs as your running back play. What do you think?
Yeah, no, I think that's good. I definitely would get a running back and a wide receiver those first 2 picks. I think there's going to be a good running back there that could be relevant right away. We'll have to see where they land, but I think that'd be a smart way to go about it. He said he's got some depth. I don't know if I don't know. He's got a little bit of depth. I don't know if he's got great depth there. He's got some old
Jamal
guys.
Williams, which is a good depth piece if Swift.
Yeah, but a backup, and Dylan again is not he's not the starter. He's in a committee, so you guys got guys like Gallman that's probably going to rotate out of the league. Mm-hmm. David Johnson probably the same. Latavius Murray probably out. Le'Veon Bell, so moving up to his bench already. But yeah, and you look at Cordarrelle Patterson, he had a great season, but he started to wear down at the end of the season. I think his age is showing. I don't know.
Yeah, he's 30 years old, and
yeah, I don't think I'd be counting on him for a lot either. So he
the
definitely
Falcons were running their whole offense through him. It seemed
right.
He forgot about that really young tight end that they drafted in the first round.
Yeah, he overachieved for him this season, but I wouldn't count on that next season. So he could be kind of fading into obscurity. So
Keenan Allen, 29, going to be 30 years old this year.
Yeah.
Wide receiver 10, fantastic numbers for a older wide receiver. He's definitely a guy that might be able to hold up for another year and see some production, maybe see some shoring up the flex spot for Goofy Jace over here with all his picks.
Yeah, he's still a good piece to have. I think he can still play. He's a great route runner. Definitely, you got to be concerned about the age and injuries, but if he can stay healthy for another season, he'd be a great flex play for him. I think Sanders will be gone.
Yeah, Sanders is gone.
Emmanuel Sanders should be probably gone. Shenault, I think a lot of us were going after Shenault, this time last year, but with that doggone dumpster fire they got in Jacksonville, we just don't know. Shenault could be he could be a Cordarrelle Patterson, he could be that guy that could do, you could run the offense through and give him 15 to 20 touches, but are they going to do it? We have to see.
Yeah. Shenault has wide receiver 2 upside, but his basement is like wide receiver 5. So it's either going to be all or nothing, or even worse, something in the middle that can't be even taken care of. You know what I mean?
I mean, I think his air yards were negative. You know, they throw the ball to him like 2 to 5 yards behind the line of scrimmage, and
Isn't that good offense? That's a good
I
offense,
mean,
right?
once in a while, but come on. I mean, the guy could do a lot more than that. He can run the ball. He could catch the ball downfield, I'm pretty sure, you know.
Oh wow, he can catch the
So
ball. Who knew?
yeah, it's just we'll have to see what they do with him. Mike Williams, we'll have to see if he stays with LA or not.
He was
Almost
wide
feel like
receiver 12 this last year.
yeah. He had a decent season. We'll have to see where he lands. I feel like he'd be better if he stayed right there with the Chargers, but if he goes somewhere else, I don't know. And we know that he's had the injury history, and he plays with reckless abandon, and
Yes, he does.
he gets injured a lot. What I like the best about Goofy's starting lineup is that Dallas Cowboys defense. Number one, let me just double check. Yes, number one defense. They were the number 39 asset overall. I mean, come on. Dallas Cowboys.
You're really fishing for that 39 overall, aren't you? Okay, I'll give you. They're the number one defense. Fantastic. You got your defensive coordinator back. I think we all know how I feel about Parsons. So, congratulations.
Yeah, it has something good to say because we were a first round exit yet again. Getting old, man. It's getting old, but
I think Tank Top Mike said it best. He goes right before the playoff game. He says, "I'm ready for my heart to be broken again." Spoken like every true Dallas fan ever.
Oh man, yeah. My daughter was born the last year they won a Super Bowl in '96. And she's 25 now. So
so you're saying it's been pretty recent, huh?
Yeah. So
well, moving down into his bench, he's got a little bit of depth if they can fix him, but T Law, first round draft pick for Goofy Jace last year. Hopefully he has some upside, you would think, huh?
He had some decent games down the stretch. Kind of under the radar because they were so horrible. But he was starting to show some signs down the stretch there. So I think that's why I said I'd love to see Leftwich go there, because between Leftwich and whoever else he brings in there, as a quarterback's coach or passing game coordinator, or however they do it there in Jacksonville, right. I feel like it's going to be a good team of people to get him back on track. I think he'll still be all right. I really do.
I think the best person on Goofy Jace's bench right now is Pat Friermuth. He's gonna be if they go out and get a rookie quarterback in Pittsburgh, he's gonna be their best friend. So he showed in his first year that he can be dependent on. He makes some good contested throws, and at tight end position, you got to know how to block to get on the contested catches. Sorry, not
you got it. You saw me smile.
I was like, oh, I said something stupid. Shocked.
He was doing the Bugs Bunny. He threw it and caught it, right?
Yes, threw it, ran down, caught it,
ran down the field, caught it.
Whole team.
There you go.
But he definitely has shown that he can definitely block too. So that'll keep him on the field every down. I think he's great pick for him. It takes a little while for tight ends to kind of emerge. Even if you have a tight end like Pitts, he didn't really do what we all thought he was going to do the first year, but he has fantastic upside.
Pitts had a great season. I think we set the expectations too high. Friermuth, for a rookie, had a really good, solid season, and he made some really nice catches. I saw a few catches that he made in the end zone.
No throws?
Yeah. No. He despite what you thought you saw, he did not make the throws.
Oh, okay.
But he had some great catches, man. He's a good one. I think he got a good one there. Gronk was good for him this season. but we don't know what's going to happen with Gronk. It's just up in the air right now. He said he might come back if Brady doesn't come back, but
he's very tied to Brady. Let's just
and you've seen the games. He's not fast. He's just big.
Yeah, he's big with amazing.
He's got good hands, but he's just slow. Lumbering. It can't go on much longer for Gronk, man.
And you can't really expect him to have the kind of output that he had this year with a quarterback that isn't Tom Brady. I mean, the connection that those two people have is unspoken. And
yeah. I used to love back in the day watching the old NFL films. They would always do the recap of the week before, and they would do these slow-mo videos. They show the play in slow-mo. That's what Gronk looks like full speed, man. I feel like he's doing the old Steve Sable,
Well, that guy's had an operation on every part of his body.
I know, man. I mean, I'm not knocking him. He's a lot better than I could be out there, but he's getting slow, man. He's just not what he was at one time. He's taking a beating, man. He's taken a lot of hits over the years. So,
well, Marky Mark just came on the show tonight and said, "I'm just gonna light a fire on everybody. Gonna let everybody know how I feel about some players today."
Yeah. I have a lot of negativity coming tonight. I don't know why, man.
Oh,
well,
going down into the draft picks for our man Goofy Jace.
Yeah.
He's got some draft picks, Marky Mark. He's got 3 in the first round, 2 of them being 1 and 2. The third one is the 9th overall pick. And then he's got some picks on the turn in the second round. So he's got a lot of opportunities to really fill a couple holes that he has.
Yeah, I mean, he went out there and he won that pick 1. It's funny. Yeah, remember that was all settled after the first week, But no, he's got some high picks in every round, which is nice. I look at the actual picks that he has, and they're all high. He's got high picks in every round. So
he's got the second pick in the second round. He's got the first and third pick in the third round. That's all going on top of the first and second pick in the first round.
Yeah, no fourth rounder, but shoot, I mean, he's got, we talked about FNG and what he could do with the first 5 picks. Definitely Goofy with the first 5 is sitting even prettier than FNG right now. And then he's got that 301. So who knows? He may find something there. 301, 303. Guys like Elijah Mitchell went in the third round last year.
Subtle flex from Marky Mark, a little pat on the back over here.
Threw up my shoulder, patted myself on the back there.
But, hey, Marky Mark, answer me a question. How did the Dallas Cowboys do in the playoffs? Wait.
Moving on.
Moving on. That's our show this week. It was a good time looking over a couple of our fellow managers' rosters, seeing how they've improved, see what kind of went down during the season, seeing where they can go moving from here. We're going to continue on looking at some rosters moving forward. We're going to break it down like a shotgun, every roster, seeing what they can do. And if you listen to the NAO show, we are going to lead you to the promised land right behind us, because if you go on to the stats screen, 3 out of the 4 top efficiency ratings are all the hosts of the NAO show. Put that in your pipe and smoke it. Ian, you suck.